Hi everybody, what's going on? I'm Sean James and this is Kentucky, the mini truck state. My new video for last week just came out and I'm out here in the garage getting ready to get started on that project. So as you saw in the last video, I said I wasn't happy with that console. And I'll show you why here in just a second. But before we get into that, let's make sure and do all the good YouTube things. Make sure and hit the like switch, comment down below, hit the notification bell so you catch future videos, share my content, and also, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can give that Scar Audio SVR 12 away at 1,000 subscribers. So please hit the subscription button and get your chance to win your stuff. Back here on the table, you can see there's a few envelopes and keychains being made, so I get those sent out. I finally got the stuff from Ryan Walston at Basic Bag Works. So those get sent out first part of the week. I'm not going to do this weekend. I've got my MDF and my plywood there. So I can show you guys how I do this console. But let me go ahead and show you some of the reasons why I'm not happy with the console. So trying to figure it out. I've not wrapped a lot of stuff, so I'm still really new at this part of it. So I want it to be really, really nice, and it looks really good now. Let me move this out of the way. So you can see it fits in there really nice. Fits in nice between the seats. And so one of the things I said in the video, which is easier to see here, you can see how far back this armrest is. I want it to come farther forward. That way your arm fits on just a little bit better. I want this part to come down a little further, stay lower, all the way up to the front, so I have room here for my voltmeters to be put in. So I want to drop this down about an inch, inch and a half, and then come back. Keep kind of the same shape. In this area here, I want to recess this down so I have room for a shift boot, a trim panel with a shift boot wrapped around it. That'll go in there, that'll fill this hole in. So yeah, whenever I built this console, I was able to utilize some things that we used in the trade construction stuff, which I've seen other people do this as well, but I figured it'd be a good way to make a video to get you guys who want to build consoles kind of a way to do it. So let me get this stuff cleaned up out of the garage, try and get the stuff set up outside. It's almost 7 o'clock on a Friday. So the video just came out a couple hours ago. I actually dropped like an hour early because I compete with Dirthead Shed, Dave Chappelle. He comes out at 4 o'clock on Fridays too. I was coming at 4 o'clock on Friday, and he has 189,000 subscribers. I have 800, so I decided to start dropping an hour earlier. That way I'm not dropping on top of him. Maybe to help my channel. It seemed to so far, but let me get this stuff kind of cleaned up, get my sawhorse set up outside where I can work outside so I'm not making a mess in my garage, because you still see all the dust from the last console that I built that's just all over everything. I want to get it cleaned out as well. I still love having the Mazda on the wall. I still have to work on that bed mount, but we'll do that later. I'm not too worried about it now, but I'm going to get this mess cleaned up, get everything set up. I'm going to come back. We'll start talking about how we want to build this console. All right, so I got the garage cleaned out. Got my board up there. Got my tools outside ready to go. So the first thing we need to do is, like I said, I've already built this console once. I'm planning to redo it. We've been over it a few times already, but it's a little easier to see outside of the truck. So I want the armrest to come up. I want this part to come down. And again, around the shift boot, but that's no big deal. So bad lighting there. So the first thing I did whenever I was setting this up is I took measurements of what I had space for. I made patterns to go inside the truck, and I'll show you how I did that. Luckily I have this one kind of as a reference for what I want. So, but I'll show you how I started it off. So the idea I got came from when they do granite countertops, because they have to fit exactly flush and stuff. So what they do is they'll end up taking pieces of like this 1/4 inch, like here, and they'll rip it down to like 1.5 inch strips or 2 inch strips or whatever. Then they hot glue the corners together and put it where they want it. And then they use that inside the vehicle to act, or inside the cabinets, to get the countertop exactly the shape they need it to. Then they use that to trim their granite so they don't mess it up, because it's very expensive. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rip down a few strips at about 1.5 inches. We'll figure out how wide the console needs to be, which I already know it's got to be 6.5. So what we'll do is we'll rip some down to 1.5 inches. We'll draw up what we want for the console, and then we'll just start kind of putting those panels together. So I'll go get my drills out of my wife's vehicle. I drove it to work yesterday or this morning, so I'll get that stuff out. We'll go ahead and get these pieces ripped down, and we'll pick it up from there. All right, so we get inside the vehicle and we measure what we have for space here. I'm planning on stopping it up against this trim piece in the front and going to the back of the amp rack, and I want to actually come over the back here a little bit. So I have 41 1/4 to go back to the tray here. So, and it's actually only 40, about 40 1/2 to the front here. I have to leave a little bit of room so it fits in there, but that's not a big deal. I know that I only have about 6 1/2 inches between my seat belts here, so I can't make it any wider than that or we're gonna have a problem. So, and then when I sit down, you know, this is where my seat sits. So just get your arm where it feels comfortable and kind of hold it there. And I found out that 11 inches works really, really well for what I want. So what we'll do is we'll go on that piece of Luan and we'll draw the pattern of kind of a side profile of what we want it to look like. We'll go ahead and get this marked for this angle. We'll cut a piece a little bit wider than we need. We'll stick it in here. We'll just mark it with the pencil, which I had the angle on the other one, so that's not really a big deal. We already know what that angle is going to be. I don't know if y'all ever noticed these, but these are I Ride with Steve Jeffords, pancreatic cancer awareness. He's a really good friend of mine. He's going through a pretty tough battle right now, so shout out to you, Steve Jeffords. I love you, buddy. I hope you get better soon. We all care about you. So, but anyway, so now that we know how wide this needs to be, we'll go over and we'll draw our pattern. So what I was talking about earlier is we'll take those strips that are cut 2 inches or 1.5 inches wide, and we'll make a little grid that goes in here and goes straight through, and then we can figure out where our angles need to kick off to go around the seats to make sure everything fits the way we want it to, if it's nice and tight. So let's get set up to draw the pattern for the console, and then we'll go from there. It's 7:20 right now, and you can see I'm sweating like crazy. It's saying it's still like 85 degrees, but the humidity is just, it's terrible. Like you can't do anything outside. So I'm gonna get a towel to dry off before I can handle any of this stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this stuff down to manageable size pieces that I need. Since I know that the console is only gonna be 11 inches tall, I can go ahead and cut about 2 foot off, and that'll give me enough clearance to cut everything I need to cut. So let's go ahead and get this kind of set up outside. We're not dusting this out. We'll probably just set it on top of this table here. I'll set the console out of the way, and we'll get that stuff cut down to pieces we can handle, and we'll get the other stuff ripped down. I hope this video helps everybody. Had a lot of really positive responses and comments and stuff, so I'm really glad to see people enjoying that content, and hope this is something that'll help you guys be able to make some stuff. So let's go. All right, so now that we have that stuff cut down to manageable pieces where we can handle it, let's go ahead and start making our patterns. So like I said, we're going to take and rip some of this Luan down to 1.5 inch strips, and then we'll cut it the length we need, and we'll start showing you how to make the pattern inside the cab. So let's get the tail saw set up at 1.5 inches, and we'll get that stuff ripped down. Now that we have our strips cut, what we need to do is we'll square these two ends up. And then what we'll do is we'll measure how long we need our console to be, which we came up with 40.5. So we'll mark 40.5. Then we need to make sure that these ends are square, or flush, I'm sorry. All right, so this is how long our console is going to be. We know it can only be 6.5 wide. So what we'll do is we'll cut 3 pieces that are 6.5 inches wide. And that way we can make our pattern. And then you can use each one to cut the next one. And you can use as many of these as you want to keep your pattern as straight as you want. We can use 4 if we wanted to. But I know 3 will work just fine. So we'll get over the table now and we'll set up how to make this part of the pattern. And all we're gonna do is take and attach these to the pattern, which this is a scrap piece. Attach these to the pattern like this, and we'll make basically a pattern we can put inside the cab. All right, so now that we have this, what we'll do is we'll take and screw this together. And so what we'll do is just make sure this is flush with the both edges. And we'll screw it down. Same thing over here. And then once we get it screwed on, we'll take the square and make sure that it's square. And so this is where these come in handy, is you can put them up here and that's gonna hold your pattern however wide you want it to be. And then all you gotta do is make sure that this is square before you start doing that. So that's square there now, so now we can tack this together. And we'll make sure this is square as well. It just helps keep everything the same. And I'm sure you use like hot glue, or if you had CA glue, that works. Like I said, that works really, really well. But I just don't have any. My glue is messed up, so. But we'll do the same thing. I gotta leave this front off here so we can line the front panel up that goes up to that front cubby that we're trying to build this up against. So let's tack that like that. Make sure that's square. All right, we'll check this back again just to make sure. You can see that that's nice and square. So we have our pattern that will go in between the seats and up to that front panel. And then off camera, I cut a piece that's 10 inches wide. And what it'll do is it'll sit right here on the front. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it against that piece inside the interior, line it up with that panel, put this where it goes. I'll put pencil marks on it where it needs to go. Then I can attach it to that, and that'll give us start giving us the build out on the front part of it. So let's get this set up so I can show you how we do that. All right, so now we're in the truck. This will fit over your console, and you can't see it, but this butts against the back. So now we just let that kind of sit where it wants. We'll put this on top of there and hold this flush. Pull it against our console. Push this up where we want that to go. And then once we get where we want it, mark the front. Come on, buddy. All right, then once we get that where we want it, just mark the front where we want it. And then we can just screw that. We can screw this to there now. We know where it goes. And that's going to give us our angles for the front. And then we can figure out where our seats hit. Basically, know the angle's going to start here on each side. We'll make it the same. Pull this back where the shift boot is, mark it there, push it forward, mark it ahead of it, so we know how wide that has to be. So now we know what our pocket's going to be, because we have enough room for the shifter to work inside that hole. So that's a neat little trick. Like I said, this butts right against the back of the amp rack I have back here, or it could be your back cab wall or wherever you want your thing to stop. Then you can kind of use this to also figure out where you want your armrest, which you can't see where you want your armrest to stop and all that stuff. So we know the shifter has to be at least there, so we have room around it. We know our cups can go here. So now we're good to go. Now we could actually draw the console out, and I'll show you how we did this as well. So let's go back to the drawing table. So hopefully that's a tip that helps you guys out. I thought that was a pretty cool idea. It really helped me when I was building mine figure it out, because I've struggled with trying to make a console for this truck a few times. I've tried a few times now and just couldn't figure out, and just kind of saw that trick one day and thought, hey, that's pretty handy, Mazda. And now we have an idea what we're doing, so let's go ahead and stick with it here. Open my tripod up. All right, so like I said, we have this marked where it goes. Of course, it goes flush with that, and that's where the console lines up. So we'll go ahead and just tack a couple screws in that as well. The same thing as we did before. That's a long screw, we don't want to use that one. Make sure you're on your pencil line. All right, so now that we have that screwed together, you can see how that's gonna work out. So we know this needs to come off. So what I did before is I just did a 45 off here. So what I'm gonna do is cut another piece I can put on here, kind of the same width, and then we come back to that, and we'll have 45s cut off where that needs to hit. We'll make it the same on both sides so it doesn't look funky. So we'll mark these so they're the same. I got that marked at 16. Once I get this tacked, I'm gonna go in the truck and check it, make sure it sits the way I want it to. Because the bad thing is this console sits off center because of the shifter. And so it has kind of an odd shape to it. It's not exactly symmetrical from side to side. Check this for square. All right, let me go check it in the truck real quick. All right, it is now Saturday. We are watching the Tour de France, trying to figure out this console. And I quit filming yesterday. At 8 o'clock, it was still 83 degrees outside, or 85 degrees. No, I'll show you here. But the real feel was still over 100. So it was just miserable. It's a little cooler today, so that should help us out a little bit. We got Reenie, she's hanging out down here. Help me out. But one of the things I forgot I did when I was building my console was that's, of course, now it's raining, so I got to put everything away. Just like I said, every day in Kentucky this year. I don't know when we moved into the mountains, so this is getting a little ridiculous. It has rained every single day. Nissan's clean. I just got everything set up outside. Cable's all in there, nothing. Motor's covered up, so I'm not too worried about that. I'll unplug and bring it in here in just a second. I just got everything set up to start recording again. Just trying to make you guys some good content so I get to put up with, so oh well. One day I'll have a shop where I can actually work in a shop, not up my driveway. But you can get it done anywhere. You don't have to have a shop. You can do it in your driveway. Crawford's did the same thing a few weeks ago. All right, so just like I did on the other console that I built on the channel, I made a pattern out of MDF to cut all the sides out of. So We know this is going to be what our pattern is for the top. So what we can do is, I know we want to make the total 41 1/4. We'll mark that up here. And we'll come back here and we know to the box it's 40 1/2. So we'll come off that front mark and mark 40 1/2. The other console is 7 inches tall. I said I want to drop it down about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. So what we'll do is we'll make marks at 7 or 6, let's do 5 1/2. That'll drop it down where we want it. We'll mark it 5 1/2 up here. I want to leave this front taller though, so we can mark that. So we'll mark it at about 8 1/2 inches. And we'll do 8 1/2 up here as well. And what that'll do is that'll give us a place to stick it in the cab and mark it on that piece in the front. So that will be just fine. Let me find my square real quick.
There's 2 points between this point and the point.
As y'all can hear, I'm still watching the Tour de France. So last weekend, so we'll come to this front mark. That's where this is going to stop. We'll mark through it. We'll use the other straight edge to mark it straight across here at the bottom. Here's the 5 1/2. And I'm going to measure that, make sure that I have that height high enough so we get a good mark on the front there. But we'll just mark it all the way through. It won't hurt anything. We know the back is 11 inches tall because we figured out that's where our arm is comfortable. So we'll mark 11 inches there. Mark 11 inches up here. And again, we'll make sure to mark it past where we want it so we have room to play with it. So since I built this before, the first time the armrest came up to 13 inches. This time I want to go up to about 15. So we'll mark 15 here. And this angle is just kind of whatever looked good. That wasn't anything specific. So we'll do kind of the same thing. We'll look at it and just kind of play with it. But the steeper we make it, the more comfortable, or the farther the armrest moves forward. This is about the same angle roughly. I'm not even worried about what the angle is. We'll mark it all the way through. Now that way we can check with the square later to know what that angle is. So that'll make it bigger. And the same thing on the back. I don't want this to be straight up and down. So I'll come to the back and put just a little bit of a back angle on it. And it could be even a little more because the arm doesn't get back there. So that's one thing I was kind of worried about when I built it the first time, but we don't have to. So that's giving you the rough idea of what it's going to look like. And again, let me measure the front of this. Yeah, that front's 8 inches, so we're at 8 inches. So we'll mark that just a little bit above this. I marked 8 1/2 up there, I think. Yeah, I did. So and then the only other thing we have to do is, I can't get this to fit into the truck if this back is left flat. So what we'll do is we'll come in, we'll cut out and come down to this so we have room for it to fit there. And we'll just do a nice little round over coming off that corner where it comes around and then just down at an angle. And then it's behind the seat, so you're not going to see it. The farther forward we put that, the less likely it's going to catch on. There's already a bad rub spot on that, so we'll want to make sure and do a little bit better this time. So what we can do is go ahead and cut this out. And once we do that, we can take it in the truck. We'll mark the front angle and get that cut out, which is going to be way down here. So, but let's go ahead and get this cut out with a skill saw. I'll do that off camera. Y'all have seen stuff cut a million times. No reason to overdo that. So let me get this cut out and we'll pick it up back out the truck. The rain has finally stopped. and look behind it. Looks like there may be some more clouds back behind it, but here in Kentucky lately, this is what we get. We get about 20, 30 minutes of rain, followed by blaring sun, high humidity, and real feels of over 100. I don't know about y'all, but I don't get real tired of this over 100 real feel stuff. It's just ridiculous. So when I was younger, I didn't mind it. I'm old now. I'm 47. Still playing audio, so that's not bad. But let me get this cut out real quick, and then we'll put it in the truck and see what we got. I've also had a few people ask me about building a new or building router tables for yourself. Since this is something that I did, mine just got rained all over, so it's going to swell up. That's the only bad thing. I should have painted this thing a long time ago. That's all going to get swollen up a little bit, which is not a real big deal. But if you guys want to see a router table build, how-to kind of thing, let me know, and I'll rebuild mine with what I have left over from this console, because I have a lot of stuff left. I have about a 6-foot piece, 5-foot piece left, so we can make one a little bit smaller, because I really don't need one that big. That one's actually a whole lot bigger than I need it to be, but I want to make sure when I do big pieces, I have places for it to work. I think I can make it quite a bit smaller and actually make it a lot more manageable, a lot more usable. So if y'all want to see that, hit it down in the comments. Say router table build, please, and we'll do that. All right, so I went ahead and got that marked in the truck. And so that's where it's hitting. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop it down just a little bit, give it just a little bit of room underneath there.
And if you are late, you got to get through today. Just have a chance. That here is the front of the telecom.
All right. And then this mark here is where the front of the console or the front of the stereo stuff stops. So what we can do is just kind of figure out what kind of angle we want to put on there. So carry this line straight forward off that. That's where that's going to stop. So we can just kind of look at this angle and just basically swing it off that point to however steep or however laid back we want it. What we do have to think about is where the shifter's at, which the shifter's not going to be into any of this, I don't believe. We had it marked on here. So you can put this up there flush with that. Yeah, you see that the shifter is stopping right here. So we would definitely want to stay behind that. And I think it was back just about flush with this. So this is where the shifter is sitting in the console. So that's the good thing about having these patterns is you can use these to figure everything out. So we know we want it to be past this, so the shifting boot is not really close to that. So what we'll do is we'll put this on the back side where we can see it. And I think right about like that is where we're going to want to put that. So and I'll leave room for like that trim piece I'm wanting to put around it as well. Be a little close, but not too bad. But yeah, I like the way that that's going to work out. So, and this stuff will get rounded over once we get it built. I'll just take a rough sandpaper and actually cut it with that to get the stuff I want. So part of the thing that I haven't explained yet is I'll build the back part of the console and the front part of the console. So I know where it changes width, and what we'll do is we'll make the front just a little bit long, or the back a little bit long, so the front can tie into it. And I'll show that as we get into that part. But we have a rough idea of what we want the console to look like now. So now it's just a matter of getting that little back side cut out where it's going to fit so it doesn't hit everything, and get all these little pieces cut out and get it rounded over. And then we can start making our pieces. So we'll get set up to do that. There's many things to get set up to do that. You know, I went from, well, what did I used to say all the time? Pick it up from there. Now I'm saying something else. So it's always something. But anyway, we'll pick it up from there. All right, so I have this cut where I want that to go. This is going to fit underneath the dash. That'll fit to the thing. This got cut back a little bit of an angle. This will leave us plenty of room for our voltmeters to fit in there. We'll have room for our shifter to fit. Our armrest is farther forward. So one of the things I will do before I start making patterns is I'll take some sandpaper in a block and sand the stuff to make sure all these edges are as straight as I can get them. That way when I router them out, I won't have to worry about them being not straight or wonky or whatever. So I'll do that here in just a second. Let me get set up and I'll kind of show you that process. All right, so what I have here is just 80 grit sandpaper. And so what I'll do is just take that and just run over it a little bit. Just give it a good look, make sure it's nice and straight, and then you can sand a little bit of the fuzzies off. It don't really matter. Do the same thing on this front edge. And this stuff sands super easy. It's super thin plywood. This is just 1/4 inch Luan that we use for like subfloor, for like under linoleum and stuff like that. So we'll do all the edges. And again, these will get rounded off once we actually put it together. Kind of a very similar thing as to what we're doing with this. Let's scoot back a little bit. There we go. So now y'all can see a little better. And since we had that rain, the humidity has absolutely spiked to like 1,000%. So, and I'm sweating like crazy. And I realize some of you guys don't have router tables to do stuff like this. All this can be done with a skill saw. The same thing, it just takes a little more time, or a jigsaw. So don't feel like you have to have this stuff to do it. And if you want to have more complex shapes, you know, rounded edges, stuff like that, you can. Everything in the Nissan is fairly squared off, so that's why I'm doing it this way. If I was doing it for a different style of truck, I might do it a little bit different than this. But this still gives us a really good idea of what it's going to look like. All right, so like I was explaining earlier, set up again. So with this pattern, we have a pretty good idea how this is going to lay out. So we know that this part has to come up this far, and then this part will have to come back to here as well. So what we'll do is I'll actually build this back section of the console and let it come a little further than I need it to. Then I'll build this front part of the console, let it come back a little farther than I need it to. And then that way I can figure out my angles that fit in here if I want to. So I can build this front section, build this back section, kind of put them together, figure out the top panel, and just tie it all together in one big piece. So we're going to work on doing that next. So the first thing we'll do is I'll use my template tape. Template tape this stuff on, which we've covered that in several past videos. So we'll just time lapse all this stuff. There's no sense really showing that. Again, I'm sure some people may not have seen those videos. If you not, go back and check them out. So what we'll do is we'll figure out where we want to cut this off at. We'll make a mark on one side, on the other, and then we'll just take and allow this on the MDF to be a little bit bigger than what we need. So, and then we'll set the router table up and cut that stuff out. All right, guys, we're back out here in the garage. It is now Tuesday. At Saturday, when the video stopped, it started raining. It got really hot. It was just miserable. I sweated through my clothes. I decided to wait to try Sunday. Sunday was even worse. Come home Monday. The real feel Monday was 114 degrees outside, and we had to work all day, and it was just miserable. Today we took half a day. It was still like 111, 112 real feel. Right now it is 6:30. It is still 92 degrees outside. The real feel is still over 100, but I'm going to get you guys a video this week. I'm going to do it. I don't care. Be a little sweaty, whatever. We'll get it done. I've got my pattern ready. For those of you who didn't see Brandon's console build, we'll do the exact same thing we did with it. I'll go ahead and mark this down on a piece of MDF that I got cut in the video earlier. Put it down, and we'll cut this out with the jigsaw and the skill saw. We'll leave about 1/8 inch of a gap around that pattern, and that way we can use a router to make sure they're exactly the same. So I'll just set this next section up as a hyperlapse, And if you guys want to learn more about that, go back and check out Brandon's console build. It's going to turn out really nice. He finally got a hold of the upholstery guy, and they've gotten it set up to get the thing wrapped. Hopefully, I think they're going to try and make it for Severed in the Midwest. I'm not sure. I'm going to try and get up there. This week has been really bad. I had 2 tires on my gray truck mess up. I've got a tire on my yellow truck that's messed up. So I've been driving my wife's secondary vehicle. As you can see on my gray truck, it's got 2 different sets of wheels on. I put the stock 17s back on the front because I need to be able to drive it to work. So I got those switched out until I can get the tires replaced. It's been like the mundiest Mondays ever. But let's go ahead and get set up, get the stuff marked out, and get it cut out. All right, now that we have those cut, what those are is these are the pieces for the center of the console to hold it together. So I cut a few extra ones. This would be for like the middle. A couple of ago, this would be for the top. I had to have one that goes down around the back. So I got plenty of those. This one is for where the gear shifter and stuff goes. And so what we'll end up doing is we'll start putting this together using this template now. Once we get we know where the shifter and stuff goes, so we can use this one to mark where the shifter is going to go through the hole. So we're going to go ahead and get set up to run this through the router table to get those ready. Then once we get it routed down, we'll figure out where we need to cut this. We'll cut them both in half and put it back together from there. So let's go ahead and get set up. We'll do just like we did on Brandon's. We're going to use template tape in that 1/4 inch pattern, wherever I set it. Back over here. We'll grab it. We'll put it on one, router it to stick the other one right to it, and do them both at the same time so they're exactly the same. And that makes it the easiest way to handle it. Now, if you don't have a router table, you can do this all with a skill saw, with a jigsaw, whatever it takes. Just take your time, follow your lines, and be as accurate as you possibly can. So don't think you have to have super fancy tools to do this stuff. It does help. It makes it easier, but I don't have anything really expensive. I think the router was a couple $100. The chop saw was my dad's from work. It was left over, but you can find those at yard sales fairly cheap. I built my own router table. The table saw's a couple $100, so it's not really anything super expensive. A little bit of time, you can acquire the tools that you need. There's a lot more fancier stuff to do these jobs than what I've got, but you gotta get by with what you have. So that's what we're trying to do here. So let me get set up with the template tape. I'll probably time lapse that, router time lapse as well, because trying to keep this video a little bit shorter. It's already over an hour or close to an hour, which is almost ridiculous, and we haven't done anything. But I want to show you guys the process that way, because I had a lot of people say they enjoy it. They helps them figure stuff out. So if I can help a few people, you can already see I'm sweating to death. I got sweat dripping off my arms already. Silly summer. Thursday is supposed to cool off. Friday is supposed to be in the 80s with very low humidity, so I can't wait for that. I may go there and give me a pickle pop here in just a second. Those things are delicious. But let me get set up to get this routed out, and we'll time lapse all that. I realize I'm quickly running out of time, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and get these pieces cut. So all I gotta do is figure out what these angles are, and I'm marking them here. That one's 26. This one is 14. And that when I cut the other pieces, I'll know what angle they are. It'll be the same thing kind of down here. You see how this is kind of a rounded corner? We'll take care of that whenever wrapping it. You actually won't notice that it's flat on the inside because it's two different pieces there. So it actually works out really good. So you can see how I cut these in half. So zoom out here. Whenever I put these together, this top piece and this top piece are different sizes. This is 8.5 and this is 5. So when they go together, they actually have an angle that ties those together. If I can stand these up, it'll make more sense. So it'll be kind of offset like that. So we'll have an angle that goes here that actually ties this together. So if we need to move this back and forth, we can do that to make it the correct length. So like I said, we'll go ahead and build this section and this section separate. Then we'll set them up here. We'll figure out how to join them, and we'll make those pieces. So it may be a little confusing right now, but it worked really good to make that one. It's the exact same thing. So I don't know if you can see it underneath the bottom, how it's put together. But you can see how the one came through and the other one tied into it with the angles to it. So it's two different pieces. Then you have two small pieces here that actually tied it together at the right width. And then we just had to make this piece to fit it. And so that's not a real big deal. But I haven't had anybody claim that they want this one yet. So if you want that console, message me after this video's over, after I get the series done, and you're welcome to it. You can have it for free. You just have to come pick it up. I'm not going to ship it. I'm not going to deliver it. You have to come get it. So if you want it, you can have it. It's 8:30. I can go ahead and get a couple more of these pieces cut so I can kind of get this top mocked up. But let's go ahead and let me get that done real quick. I may do that off camera, so I can run out of time for tonight. All right, so I have this kind of just roughed up. It's just sitting up there. But so once we get this piece made and get it screwed together, see if I can't set this up here. We'll set this on top. So that'll be the back half of the console. Like I said, it's just sitting there roughly, but we can adjust this section however long we need to, which will be like just a saw blade's width. And then we'll do the same thing for this front one. We'll we'll just make it 8.5 inches wide, which I've got the piece out here. It's getting too dark. It is 9 o'clock, so I've run out of time. I'm not gonna bother my neighbors this late. So let me see if I can't get this set up real quick. Kind of show you just a rough idea how this is gonna work. And we can even stand this up now that we have this kind of figured out. Set it this way we can kind of see better. So we know how wide that's going to be. We know we have these cut to fit. So this is just for demonstration. So this will come up in between there. And that's basically the roughed in console. So once we figure out, get this built, get that built, we can come back here and figure out our angles up to that. And then we'll have our cup holders here and up into here. The shift boot we can mark with our pattern, because this will actually sit, it would fit in there, but you can kind of go like this, but that's not right. But anyway, we know we have the shift boot marked right here and this one back here. So this is where we had to cut out the shifter hole. So we know that. And so once we get these pieces cut, we got to figure these angles out. The front will stay open. We'll have one cut there and one cut for the bottom. And then I want to make something across here, probably out of the Luan. That way I have room for those voltmeters to sit into without having to cut through 3/4 inch stuff. So, but yeah, it's starting to come together. I may go ahead and just kind of tack this together tonight. That way it'll be ahead for tomorrow. I've got to help my neighbor. Pick his car up tomorrow. So it'll be a little later tomorrow afternoon before I can get back out here. But I hope that makes sense for you guys. I hope this is helping you guys out, kind of figure out how to do this stuff. I know this hasn't been the greatest video, but I want to at least get it together and get it rabbited. It's going to be a longer video. The wrapping video is probably a shorter video because I'm not going to show every bit of it. I'll show a few tips and tricks because I'm not that good at wrapping yet. I'm still learning, but you know, that's part of it. You know, you got to figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, and if you want to get better or not. So Donnie had a great idea about sewing it together and fitting it, but I don't have the correct equipment to do that. I've never done it before. Excuse me. I'd like to learn how to do that stuff, but it's not in the cards for this one. But anyway, like I said, it's 9 o'clock. It's dark out. I need to go ahead and get myself brought in. I got to get up for work at 5:30. So I just put this shirt on 10 minutes ago, and it's already sweated through again. So that's my 4th shirt since work this afternoon. Just doing this, it's ridiculous. It's still 100 degrees real feel out. So we'll bring on winter. I'm ready for cold air. I can close the door and turn the heat on and be fine. But y'all don't want to see my shirt off. I can promise you that. We'll catch y'all tomorrow. All right, it's Friday. Kendall's back home from Indiana. Say hi, Kendall. Now she's fixing to leave again and go to a friend's house, so she ain't stick around very long. Poor kid. Having the summer of her life, seems like. But anyway, it is now Friday, about 11 o'clock. I only have a couple hours. I can actually try and do anything. I've got most of the video edited already. We're just about 46 minutes at this point, I think. So I want to get a few more things done if I can. Try and get this part together, kind of explain how I do this front. So what I'll do is, since I have this piece here, let me back out a little bit so you can see. I'll have this piece here, and I need to get it to fit that bottom spot, and we'll actually let it go past just a little bit. That way I can cut this part back just a little bit to help tie these together, and I still have plenty of room for the cup holders to go there and then not get into that. So then once I get that figured out, then we can go ahead and get the gear shifters set up. So one of the things I want to do, which may be hard to see up there, is I want to let this come past that edge just a little bit. Actually, I want to stop right here at this corner and put the angle on it. This piece here is going to be like a piece of 1/4 inch Luan. I'm going to have to figure out how I want to attach that. What I may do is actually let that come back a 1/4 inch. Well, if I put it flush to that front, we'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about that. And then I've got to cut this top piece to go on there. And like I said before, we're not going to have a front because that butts into the front of the thing there, so there's no reason to have that on there. So what we'll do is like we did last time. You can see the marks I have on here. We know what those angles are, so we can just go ahead and use our table saw to get those cut out. The chop saw I have isn't wide enough to cut those, so what we'll do is we'll just use a square, find those angles, and then we'll rip those on the table saw. We've got quality control on the job. Say hi, Grace. Hi, Grace. Hi, Grace. She wants to make sure that I'm making a good video for you guys. So comment good Grace down below. Good Grace. Look at all this hair coming off her. Poor girl. She's glad that it's cool outside, though. I know that. Yeah, it's cooled off. Feels better, don't it? All right, I gotta get to work. I got stuff to do, Grace. Is that okay? All right, thank you. All right, so hopefully this makes sense. So this is the top of the front of the console, the wide part. And right here is where I want to put those gauges, those digital gauges. So what I'm going to have to do is take and make a piece of 1/4 inch that will go in there to fill that out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the thickness of the Luan off this front so I can actually attach it across the front and then into the back of that to help hold that together. So I'll just take and use that Luan to make a mark on the back side, which I haven't done that yet. So I know the angles. This one is 6 degrees. This one is 6 degrees. That one's 21, so it doesn't really matter which side I go off. I'm going to go off the 6-degree side since I cut it last. And I'll just hold that flush with the front. Oh, hold it there. And mark it with my pencil. And so when I cut that off on the table saw, I just want to leave that pencil line as close as I can. It looks pretty good. All right, so now I've got this piece cut, and this should just slide down between the two. And then just like that, you've got that riser made where I can put my voltmeters in there. And then I can also use small screws and screw that on, then screw the backside on. That'll hold that all together really good. It don't have to be a real thick piece, because if I use a 3/4, it's going to be too much to get the things in there. So all right, so now as you can see, we have both sections of the console built. Now it's just a matter of joining them together. And again, this can get cut off. This can get cut off. It doesn't matter which one we cut off. Put that out of there. It's basically going to sit like that. We can get our angles marked on it, how we want it to go. But we got to remember it's off-centered to one side. So that's what we're going to want it to get figured out is with our pattern we have up here, is figure out how much offset it has to be. Because like I said, the shifter is offset to the passenger side quite a bit. So it makes that angle, and you can see it on the one. I put it in the truck yesterday. See how wide the right side is versus how wide the left side is. That left side is definitely wider because that shifter is pushed over towards the passenger side a little bit. So once we get it figured out where we want it, fix my hat. Once we get figured out where we want it, then all we got to do is we'll do like we've done before. We'll template tape some pieces down, use a router to cut it out so we get a really nice clean hole. It's not real critical as we're going to have a shift boot that goes on top of it, but I want to do, best work I can. So let me get that figured out, and I'll kind of show you from there. But we're about to run out of time on this week's video, but I do want to at least get it where it's probably joined together. I got some editing to do. Then I got to upload it. That usually takes a couple hours. So I'm running out of time. Let's see if we can get done. All right. So according to the pattern, that's where our shifter is. And then I took this on there, butted them up where they meet, marked a line. And if it's just a little bit short, it's not going to hurt anything. We can definitely open that up just a touch whenever we cut that. I'll probably leave about 1/8 of an inch past this pencil line, since we know when we cut this, we lost the width of the saw. So that'll take care of the width. And then once we figure out these angles, how we want them, and that's where it gets kind of fun, because those angles could be as wide or as narrow as we want them to. Once we line up where these pencil marks I got there, we'll line up with the sides. And as you can see, this side's wider than this side is, so these angles are going to be just a little bit different coming off here and off there. And you can see how they look in the truck. They look, fairly symmetrical, but they're definitely not the same. I forget what the angles were, but they were, the left side is definitely steeper than the right side. So once you get in a truck, those angles don't stand out that bad, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I'll do like I did before. I'll take template tape, stick onto that, and router it out. I may put the console in there just to kind of make sure that's going to work. I'll take this piece off, sit this in place, and then check my marks. I'll go ahead and get a square and just square my marks out here so I can kind of see it. I know the width's going to work. I'm not too worried about the width. I'm more worried about the front and back. And even if it's too big, it's not going to matter, because I can take and make my trim piece to fit this for the shift boot to go on. So I'm not too worried about how that's going to come out. I'm not done before, but we're definitely going to make it work. But let me go ahead, get that off, check it, and then we'll try and get that cut out. And then maybe as far as we get to go. Like I said, we're really running out of time. I wish I had more time, but this week has been just extremely hot. Today is finally 74 degrees out. It is really nice out. I'm not sweating to death. I'm not dying out here. It looks overcast. It's been like this all day. We've had a few little sprinkles here and there, but nothing real crazy. Luckily, we got off work a little early today. So, yeah, make a little bit of progress for you guys. And I get my truck cleaned up for the Bay show, or not the Bay show, but the car show this weekend. So I started waxing it a little bit, and it's looking pretty clean. This back here is looking pretty dull. So you can see the top, pretty dull. We'll wax her up, make her look really good. Then hopefully get to hand out some demos tomorrow, because that's really the only reason I want to go to the show. I like share my truck with people. So let me get this done so I can get that done, so we get everything else done, so we can make a video on that as well later. right now, you can see we got it together. So, and then on the inside, we just took and put a couple screws to hold that front end. So no big deal with that. Let's take it and try it in the truck. Get it to fit in here, but it will go over the shifter. I gotta fight it between the seats. There's fifth, reverse, first, second. So yeah, that could honestly come over that way a little bit. Oh, reverse is farther back than fourth. See that? There's fourth. Reverse comes back quite a bit further. But it's still okay. It'll get in there. It's about where we want it, so I may just take a little bit out of that corner right there. But yeah, and then you can see where my voltmeter is going to go, where it says volt. So all I got to do is cut out a little spot for those to fit into, and then they'll just press in. So yeah, and then the thing we can look at is where these are hitting the seats. We can make a mark where we want those to hit. Let me grab my pencil real quick. So what we'll do is we'll just take and hold this up here close to where the seats are at. And mark that. Same thing up here. Seats hitting a little harder, so we'll come a little further up, probably. So a little more room. About like that. And again, the other one wasn't symmetrical either. So these aren't going to be symmetrical because the passenger seat doesn't go as far back as the driver's seat for some reason. And I got to have my driver's seat far back because I'm a tall dude at 6'4". So yeah, this is going to work out pretty good. All right, guys, that's going to end this week's video. Sorry we didn't get further along. Like I said, just the weather's been really bad, so hot. I've apologized like 6 times, so I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing that. But I appreciate you guys being here, following these videos and all that good stuff. I hope this video does a little bit better than the last couple have. They've been a little bit slow, but it's not really a big deal. Make sure to hit the like switch, comment down below, hit the notification bell. Make sure and share my content. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. That does help my channel the most. I do appreciate it. Again, Brandon Tilley is going to get my old console for his Nissan. He lives in Paducah, about 30 minutes away, so that's going to work out really well. He's the one that actually gave me the hood that used to hang on the wall over here. He gave me 2 different hoods for my Nissan. I haven't used either of them, but I do have both still. So thank you, Brandon, for that. I do appreciate it. Next week's video, we should be able to complete the console. Again, we just ran into a lot of issues, and for whatever reason, that MDF or that quarter inch stuff really made it hard because I couldn't drive it like I wanted to, so it caused a little bit of problems. But anyway, again, thank you guys for being here. I do appreciate it. I can't be here without you. Make sure if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can give that Scar Audio SVR 12 away. It's still sitting on the truck over there in the box. Just getting a little bit dusty, so I'm ready to send it to somebody. To everybody that won keychains, one through Basic Bag Works and also through my 800 subscriber count, I haven't sent them out yet. I just haven't had a chance. They're still sitting over here on my table. So they are ready to go. I just haven't been to the post office yet. It's not real far away. I just haven't felt like getting to the post office. So, and I understand that the keychains aren't really super important to anybody. So it's not a real big deal, but you will get them. They are already bagged up. They are ready to go. So maybe whenever I go to the bank that they cash checks, I can drop those off. I doubt it. Though. But anyway, again, thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Cleaning up. Here comes this cool moth. Pretty big dude. Almost didn't see him on the concrete. Almost matches in. Almost throws a rock.